Hey everybody, it's Zori from OneScales, and in today's video I'm going to introduce to you the measurement protocol for Google Analytics 4. It's a really cool add-on or tool or option or feature that you can do to add more information to your Google Analytics 4. So let me jump into it. Let me explain the concept. So Google Analytics, very simply, is a way for you to track your website users, what they do, which pages they visit, what tech they're using, and what kind of events and conversions they're doing. So for example, they're creating orders, they're signing up for newsletters or for accounts, and you can track all that information in Google Analytics 4. Typically, almost always, you put a tracking code on all of your pages, and then Google Analytics will actually track how users and visitors are visiting your site. And you can add via code or Google Tag Manager some extra information, for example, that they made an order, they signed up for a newsletter, things like that. Now, the measurement protocol is part of Google Analytics 4, and it lets you send additional offline data, not online data like you have the tracking code and they actually visit the website, they click on page by page, but it lets you add additional information that your tracking code on your website cannot add, or that you want to add via a simpler way via the measurement protocol. So let me give you an example or two or three about measurement protocol. So let's say, for example, someone goes and makes an order on your e-commerce website. They go to your website, the tracking code is there. They click on the home page, you know that. They go to the product page, they add to cart. They eventually get to the checkout, they pay successfully. So all this information is considered online tracking. And what that means is the tracking code is actually aware of the user doing all kinds of things, and then they make an order. So now you have order information in your Google Analytics. You have the visitors. You have their flow, right? Their funnel. They've gone from step 1 to 2, 3. Now let's say, for example, that they contacted customer service, not on the website. Maybe they called customer service and their package is damaged and they want a refund. They want to return the product. They want their money back. So how do you get the refund information? How do you get this offline experience to actually send to Google Analytics 4? They asked for a refund. They called. A call is not with a tracking code. It's not on the website. And then eventually the customer service approved the refund. They went to their backend system. They approved the refund. And then we need to tell Google Analytics, hey, this order is no longer, we didn't make profit from it. We actually had to refund the money. How do you actually send refund data back? And the answer is you use the measurement protocol. So when the person, actually the customer service agent, clicked on refund, you can actually have your code use the measurement protocol to send data to Google Analytics, say, hey, this offline event happened. Okay, so this is one example, refund. Another example is sometimes you you don't want to send things in real time. You want to batch things together, or you want to track something. You want to technically send the data different. Maybe you send the order data differently. Maybe or maybe your CRM has additional information about your customer. Maybe they registered on the website and your CRM says, hey, you know what? I want to send additional information about this visit or this user. And I want to send it because the person managing the CRM, the customer management, the customer database is sending additional information. I want to throw that later on because some agent, someone in my, my salesperson, maybe they entered some additional information and now I want to send it. So that's another example. And you can do many, many other things. Okay, so let's jump into some technical things. I'm going to make it very, very simple. I'm not going to do some coding here, but I'm going to talk to you about the concepts of measurement protocol, give you some limitations, some things. It's going to be a pretty short video. Okay, so first thing is when you want to send data, this is a little technical, you need to send data to the measurement protocol to a special URL. So you're going to have this URL. So Google-Analytics MP measurement protocol collect. You're going to send all your data, the information you want to send to them, you're going to send to this URL, right? And with the URL, you're actually going to send some information, right? So you're going to send a few things. Number one, this is the domain, and this is the full URL. So basically, you're going to send data here, and you're going to send, number one, you're going to actually have to send an API secret, which means it's a special kind of like password that you have in Google Analytics that lets you authenticate yourself. Make sure that you have authority to send data to Google Analytics account, not just anyone can send it. So how do you get the API secret? You go to Google Analytics, and you go here to your settings. One second, let me refresh. You go to your settings right here, and you go to your data streams. Click on your data stream, and you go to measurement protocol API secrets, and you just and then you make a new one. Create. Obviously, don't share with anybody. This is a test account, so I'm gonna delete this after the video. But you create a new one, and then you copy the secret, and then you can use it in your data. Okay. So this is it. The next one is the measurement ID. You actually need to know which account to send it to. So we were just there a second ago. Measurement ID is right here. This one. Okay. You send it here. Okay. Next one. So now you're going to actually have to send some data they call the payload, or the information in JSON format. You're going to have to send some information. And then you have some required things. Client ID is the client is basically the visitor that came to your website that did some actions. For example, Jonathan, customer number 223, whatever it is, that customer actually visit your site. Okay, so this is required. Okay, and then there's a lot of things that are optional. This is a user ID. For example, your visitor actually has a specific user ID in your CRM or your Shopify or whatever your site is. Timestamp is the time that the action occurred. You can, if you don't put in a timestamp of the action that you're sending, for example, the event, for example, refund, it'll actually take the timestamp of right now. Note that you can put backwards time, but you can only do it up to 3 days backwards, 72 hours backwards. If you do it more than that, it'll fail. You cannot send data of a year ago or 2 years ago or a month ago. You can send maximum backwards 72 hours. Okay, and then you have all these other things. User profiles about the user. Non-personalized ads is, do you want this information to be part of personalized or non-personalized ads that you can integrate with Google Ads, for example. And the most important thing is the event data. This is the thing that you're always going to send no matter what, to say that some kind of action happened. If you know in Google Analytics 4, everything is an event. A page view is considered an event. A sign up is an event. Order is an event, a refund is an event, register is an event, anything is an event. So actually the most important thing aside from the required fields is you have to send the event. What actually happened? What was the thing that you want to use measurement protocol to send data for? Okay, and then there's a lot of other things, right, for it. So this is the basic. I'm going to show you some examples very shortly. Okay, this is a very, very basic thing. So a few other things to note. There's a few limitations. So we talked about the 72-hour thing. We talked about this, and I'm going to put all the URLs here in the description and the YouTube description and in our article. Other than that, you can also have some limitations. Good for you to know. Guys can read this later. I'll put it here. But very simple. There's a limit on the size of what you can post, what you can send in one time. There's the maximum of events you can send, 25. That each event can have maximum 25 parameters. And the 25 user properties, etc., etc. You can read the others. It's kind of hard to limit them, but just make sure you don't batch too many actions at one time. But this is a lot. You can just resend a lot of things. For example, for every refund, you can send a separate, a separate post. You don't have to send 25 refunds at the same time, right? You can do one at a time, etc. Okay, so these are some limitations. What else do we have that's very important? So now that we kind of know the basics, you can send offline data. These are some requirements. You send it to this URL, Google Analytics MP collect, and you have to have your API secret, and you have some required fields. Let's look at an example or two. So you have two ways to do it. The first thing I really recommend for you guys to do is use the Google Analytics event builder. Make sure you're on GA4, you're not on the old UA. So what you're going to do is you're going to go, if you have the regular tracking code, which most websites will have, not Firebase, is a complete different topic, gtag.js, you're going to put in your API secret and your measurement ID, right, which we saw a second ago. And then you're going to put in all the fields. So client ID is required. You have to do this. Now, how do you get a client ID? If you're sending some data that's not about customers or about your internal business, you can make up a random client ID as long as it doesn't exist. But how do you get your client ID if you already have a user that did some kind of action? For example, I have a user. So you can actually go to your website. For example, this is my website right here. This is my website. I am a customer. I'm just a visitor. So you can go as a visitor, click on inspect, click on application, go to your your cookies and your website, And then make sure you're actually looking at your website, right? You can go to domain. For example, my website is mystorevideos.myshopify. And then search for GA. Right here, I'm using Chrome in this case, okay? So make sure that you're on the correct domain in case you might have multiple. And then this is my client ID. Actually, you need to not include anything that has dot something dot something. So excuse me, GA's dot something dot something, and at the end. You're basically going to take this whole thing. So edit value, let me copy this. Right here, this, and you're going to exclude anything in the beginning and the end, and you're going to take these ones of long number dot long number. This is your client ID. This is what you would plug in right here, for example, if you want to have more information about this specific user. There's ways to do it via JavaScript if you want to get other ones. These are more for coders. It's going to be outside this topic, but you can actually, in the documentation, in the measuring protocol, you can actually look for it. You can have very simple way to use JavaScript to just grab the client ID, and then you can save in your database or other things like that. Okay, so the most important thing is, aside from the required fields, you need to send an event. So you can send a custom event, anything you want. For example, sign up to my paid class, whatever. You can name it whatever you want. This is the timestamp. This is the time frame if you want to do it. Or if you have a specific built-in, an event that is recognized by Google Analytics, for example, an order, a sign up, a generate lead, you can actually just select it here and it'll allow you to add it very simply. So for example, for e-commerce, it'll actually have a drop-down. These are all the ready ones that are built into Google Analytics that if you have something like this, you want to use it. Generate lead is someone filled out a form. View a cart, view an item, begin checkout, etc., etc. All these things are very, very clear. You should use them simply. If you actually select an existing one, the parameters are actually auto-loaded for you. So you don't need to actually go to the documentation, figure out what you're missing. This is the SKU, this is the product name, this is the quantity, etc., etc. You can actually use it. If I select something, for example, let's say let's go right here, add to cart, it'll change the parameters. You have some different information, right? If I do here, for example, here, all apps, let's say refund, you see it'll change my refund to the specific ones. This is the parameters of the whole refund. This is the specific items of the refund. You fill it out. Once you fill it out, let me make a simple example. For example, a custom one. I have one called clicked on banner. Let's say I made that up. Now here I can actually add my own parameters here. For example, clicked, so banner name, and then I can do, for example, home page 1, right? So I just made it up. I made up an event that if someone clicks on the first banner, it'll send that data, and my code can send it. Once I do that, I'm going to need to validate it, make sure I didn't make any mistakes, excuse me. If it is green and valid, it's good. If it's not, if it's red, it'll tell you the issue and you can fix it. And then this is my payload. This is what I'm actually sending to the domain / this URL with my secret and my basic information. This is what I'm sending. This is the client ID. No, it's not a personal. I will not use this data for personalized ads. And then obviously the event that I want to send. This is the most important data. So what I can do, I can click it, I can send it out. How do you test it? First of all, you can just send it directly here and test it. If I click here, send, now I can go to my Google Analytics. I can go to my real-time report right here. I'm going to wait like 10 seconds or so. And then if everything's okay, it's going to be in my events right here. I'll be able to see the data right here if it's good. Okay, make sure you're on the right account, etc. I'm going to visit back in a second because it usually takes a few seconds. Okay, so that's it. You can send multiple. You can send it again. You can modify. You can send all kinds of data right here. If you did it correctly, you should be good. I think we should be good here. Let's go. Oh, here it is. So event count, I sent it twice, for example. You can see all the data here. Here's my parameters. Looks good. Everything looks good. So the data is here. You can actually test it out very simply. You can see it very easily. Now, let me show you one more example. Obviously, you're going to not want to send your data like this. You're going to want to use some developer, some code. So doesn't matter what language you're using. All you need to do is send the data. So let me give you one example how to actually do this via something like Postman. Postman is a way for you to easily use an app to send like API information. This is one example. So for example, I have right here Google Analytics, right? This is the same thing. I'm posting data, not getting data. I'm posting data to this URL, and my data includes my API secret and my measurement ID. And then in the body, I'm using the JSON format, raw JSON, and I'm sending what you just have right here, this payload, this body information. This is all the data that I want to send. You know what? This is my client, and this is the event I want to send. And I click on send, and it works. As long as you get a 204, you get a 200, then it means it's received, and then the data should be received in the real time, and that's it. So I hope this makes sense. This is slightly technical. It's a really cool way to add offline data. You can be creative with what you can add. You can integrate things differently, but eventually a developer needs to actually send data programmatically via whatever system you have, your CRM, your website, your internal code, your backend stuff, etc. If you have any questions, you want to go in more depth on this, ask me anytime. We're here to answer questions. We're here to learn from you guys. If you did like this video, please like, please subscribe, please share. Let me know what you thought about it. And come to our website, check us on social media, say hi. We're here to create a community, make a lot of cool content for you, not just Google Analytics, but a ton of different things. And much appreciated, guys. Thank you.